So I traveled over land, sea, and ocean to witness Graham Potter's first game in charge of Chelsea, only to see them draw 1-0 to Salzburg. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. SCN! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the championship!
Greetings and welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is your Chelsea Champions League match review, but more specifically a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance in the Champions League versus Salzburg and Graham Potter's first game, coincidentally enough. But ladies and gentlemen, please, if you can do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification button to keep up with the latest and the newest. And of course, as always, I'm going to let you know about my sponsor. They go by the name of Major League Socks. And fellas, if you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, you know what to do. Just hit them up. The link will be in the description. Okay, so I traveled all the way to Stamford Bridge from Toronto, Ontario, Canada to witness Graham Potter's first game in charge of Chelsea Football Club in the Champions League against Salzburg. And unfortunately, they came away with a 1-1 draw and, sloppily gave away the equalizer. In this match review, you're going to be focusing on Chelsea's shape under Graham Potter, their style of play, the more direct aspect of their play. We're going to be looking at individual performances as well, in particular Kai Havertz. And we're also going to be commenting on playing players in their natural position. Okay, so at the outset of the match, a lot of people were very confused by this Chelsea shape. We couldn't figure out whether it was a back four or a back three. In my opinion, it was definitely a back three. And Graham Potter basically set out with Cucurella as a left-sided center back and Azpilicueta as a right-sided center back. And Reece James played basically as a winger along with Raheem Sterling as well. I don't think they played wing back at all. I think they were actually playing more as wingers. As you can see here in this diagram right here, you can see Chelsea's basic shape is a 3-3-4, which is a very, very new tactical deployment from Graham Potter, and it was very aggressive. It's either one of two things. It was either Graham Potter was very aggressive in his mannerisms with Chelsea, the squad. He wanted to see them, push more bodies forward and leave spaces on the sides, or he just gave no respect to Salzburg. And in the end, I mean, we did have control of the match, maybe 60-75% of the possession. And, unfortunately, we can only get the one goal, but there were a ton of opportunities created throughout the match based on this shape alone. And I want to get into that. For the most part, what I saw was Chelsea played that 3-3-4. And, of course, we had Raheem Sterling and Reece James pushed way up the pitch, playing as wingers, essentially. And they were supported in the midfield by Jorginho as a sitting 6 and Kovacic and Mason Mount as the number 8s to form a bit of a triangle in the middle. Gave Kai Havertz the free role as the number 10 and of course Aubameyang as the out-and-out number 9. And I was right away taken aback by the fact that Chelsea left so much space on the wide area, so in the flanks and whatnot. We were very compact in the middle. You saw basically Jorginho, Kovacic, and Mason Mount form a middle three that was very, very compact. And as a result, you didn't see Reece James or Raheem Sterling play a lot of football in their own end. They were very much pressed up the pitch the entire game. And for that reason, I was either one of two things was going on here. Either Graham Potter was very, very confident in the abilities of Cucurella and Azpilicueta and just giving them the license to either get forward or control that flank all on their own. Or again, he just did not respect Salzburg's ability to play on the flanks. And in either instance, Chelsea were pretty much dominant for the entire match, but just could not find that killer goal, the one to just kill the match. And as a result, the game wore on and Chelsea led them back into the match. And the end result is a late equalizer. But overall, I thought the 3-3-4 was very effective. It showed that Graham Potter was very brave, pushing that many bodies forward. And, we had control of the match. The midfield wasn't given away. We had a little bit more solidity in there with Mason Mount playing in that number 8 role where he was most comfortable. He definitely played a very, very good match, and one that we haven't seen from him in quite some time when we see him as a number 10 or as a number 11. And it was great to see players in their natural roles and flourishing in that role as well. Yeah, so look for that going forward. Let's hope that we can sustain that shape in the Premier League and not get found out down the flanks, because if we can, I think that Chelsea's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on defenses and get a lot more bodies committed to the attacking areas where, we played a lot more direct than we have in the past. You saw a lot of direct balls into Aubameyang where he laid it off. And had we had a little bit more luck in the final third, once we got into the box, I really do believe that Chelsea would have scored more goals. But unfortunately, again, the same problem plays us time and time again. When Chelsea get into those areas, it's not that they don't make opportunities to score goals, it's just they're not taking it at a high enough clip for Chelsea to really, really put the matches to bed. And, yesterday against Salzburg was a perfect example. Control should have been up 3 or 4-0, and then late in the game you see Salzburg, capitalize on an error, individual error again, and, it's 1-1. Chelsea can't find the go-ahead goal late. Now, one of the other things that I liked about Graham Potter was the fact that he decided to play players in their natural positions. For far too long under Thomas Tuchel, Chelsea were playing a lot of players and force-feeding him into roles that they were definitely uncomfortable in. I'm talking about the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi, Ziyech, Kai Havertz, Mason Mount. The list goes on and on. Obviously, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. You can probably go on as far as players that were playing out of position, and under Graham Potter that was just not the case. We saw, of course, the return to the midfield as a number 8 of Mason Mount, where he played extremely well in the entire match. We saw the likes of, obviously, Kai Havertz played his preferred role off of the main striker. And then when the substitutes, we did see Conor Gallagher come into the midfield area for Kovacic, and we also saw Ruben Loftus-Cheek come into the game for Kai Havertz in his preferred role as a number 10. And, again, it just goes to show you, when you play players in their proper positions, you get the best out of them. They don't have to guess about what they have to do on the football pitch. They're not second-guessing themselves. We saw Ruben Loftus-Cheek come onto the pitch and basically take over the match in times. And, with a better box presence for some of the guys that we had on the pitch, he probably would have had 2 or 3 assists with the runs that he made into the box, drawing fouls and crossing it back into areas where you expect to have, one of our number 8s or even our number 9s come onto it and score. But fortunately, we just weren't in positions to take advantage of the great areas that he got into onto the pitch. But going forward, like I said, I really do feel like this is something that Chelsea can build on, using players in their proper roles. Again, the only thing that worries me going forward is because the roles have changed so drastically, and the way he's used, the wingbacks in this game is evidence that there's not going to be a lot of play for our wingers, and maybe not even for a guy like Ben Chilwell, as I mentioned as well. There's not a whole lot of room for that. I mean, it is an asymmetrical shape when you consider that Reece James was playing as a winger, but not necessarily with a winger's mentality. He still has a defensive acumen to get back and get into shape and whatnot. But if you play somebody like Ziyech there, it's just not as conducive to being successful as we saw in the latter stages of the game, where he's played out there and just didn't really provide much for us in that wide right area. So going forward, there is something that needs to be worked on. We're going to have to find new roles for some of these players that are a bit of misfits. Talking about the likes of Pulisic, who basically came on for Raheem Sterling and just didn't have his feet with him, and didn't really have any influence on the match. We saw Broha come into the game, and again, could have scored a couple times and made a couple darting runs to get into the final third. But overall, we're going to need more off of the bench if Chelsea are really going to impact matches the way that we can, using energy and having influence in the final third. But to keep this real short, I really do want to focus on what we saw from Kai Havertz today. Now, naturally, we did see him in his natural role, playing off of Aubameyang as a number 10. And for me, I'm just really starting to worry about this guy's role in the team and his ability to play in the Premier League, his ability to play for this Chelsea Football Club in general. Because, number one, in his preferred role, we just did not see enough. When you're playing as a number 10, that is the hub of ideation, the guy that is supposed to, be the creative force for the club, the creative force for the attackers on the pitch. And for the most of the game, you just did not notice him. He did not have any influence in the final third other than when he gave it away, played wayward passes. His touches took him away from opportunities to score goals. And even when he was in the box and had opportunities to score, expect his technique to come to the fore, and it just didn't. And obviously this is a guy that's struggling with confidence right now, but for the last 2+ seasons, I haven't really seen much from this guy that suggests that he's going to be the difference maker for this Chelsea Football Club in terms of being a consistent presence on the pitch, a consistent hub for ideation and creation in the final third. I just don't see enough of it, and for that reason, I'm really worried about this guy's actual position in this club. Where does he actually fit? And when he's at his best, is he giving us what we need in that position? I need to see more from him. If we're not going to get it, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, because he doesn't come cheap. He was 71 million pounds, somewhere in and around there. And, he is a young guy, but at this point in time, I need to see some sort of progression in his career. This is his third year with Chelsea right now. If we don't see that now, I don't know when we're going to see it. But real quick, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. I'm really disappointed we didn't even get to walk away with 3 points. I'm in the building. I'm watching this Chelsea team play, effortless football, in control of the match for the entire 90, and then one slip up, a poorly tracked run from Azpilicueta it's in the back of the net, and ruins what would have been a great debut for Graham Potter. A lot of creation in the final third. We're playing against Salzburg. You expect us to dominate, but at the same time, we saw a lot of good positive things. Players playing in the right position. A different sort of shape with players advancing in roles where they are mostly accustomed to, and it's something to build on, I guess. But in the end, we're pretty close to the brink of elimination in the Champions League, a competition that I love and I know Chelsea supporters love. And we got 1 point from 2 games, so with 12 points left to play for, we're pretty much gonna have to run the table in order to qualify for the next round. So here's hoping we can do that. I'm here in London, here in England for the next couple weeks, and unfortunately there's no football. So I'm here, and we don't get to watch any football, or at least I don't. So a little disappointed about that, taking the opportunity to come over here and not be able to see the Liverpool game, which is what I plan to do. And I guess that's how it goes. But I'm gonna try and do another video once I get another chance to watch the Salzburg game, just to give you guys a little bit more insight as to what I saw. But until then, guys, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high, and up the Chelsea. Peace.